So I'm going to iMagicon and I wanted to create my project on my costume that I'm going to be creating. And this will be like a step-by-step process of what I'm doing, and this is the character I want to be. Her name is Rosabella Beauty. She's just from one of my favorite shows, and here's her cartoon character, so that's what I'm pretty much going to look like. And the phone keeps turning off. So as you can see, there's like her boots have red roses on them. They don't really on these, so this is just the best representation we could get. There's only one red rose instead of here. So there's more detail in the cartoon. That's why I'm showing her, because there's less details in the doll, but you can kind of see how I'm going to be comparing. And I'll be using the doll to explain how I'm doing everything instead of the cartoon character. But I wanted everyone to get a glimpse so that if anything looks different, it's not. So for each of these, let's see, I took her dress and I decided to go to like some thrift stores. I went to Joann's. I went to just different places to combine and get different materials to create her dress. And yeah, and her whole outfit. And I did the boots too. I will show some more images of the boots before I design them. And here's some of her jewelry. I actually bought some of the jewelry online. The headpiece I bought online. I haven't received it yet, same as the bracelet, so I'm still waiting for those to come. And I'm not going to be having her purse. And her belt I bought at Joann's, and I will be showing that as well. Her glasses I bought online. And I bought some rose clips that I ended up cutting the clips off of and then gluing them onto her glasses. So this is pretty much what the glasses now look like. And the earring pieces, they're not finished yet. So I will probably show that when I get the final pieces, and I'll do an individual on that. In the meantime, that's what I did. And I will be showing some of the pieces as I go along. Now for the roses here on her belt and the roses that go down her shoe, I will be using these, which I got from Joann's. So these are the materials I will be using. I got this golden sparkly material from Joann's. And this I'm planning to iron on there, probably make some rose patterns. I'll do other rose patterns also with one of the roses, probably like a stamp. I'll explain that later when I get to it. Here, this is a dress I actually bought from a thrift store, but I think it worked really nicely for the part, and it will be going underneath. And then here's another shirt that I found at a thrift store, and I just thought the pattern looked so much like hers, if you can compare. Let me see. The sleeves don't quite go as far down, but they were good enough. And it's really hard to find this kind of pattern somewhere. So I was lucky enough to find this. And here's going to be the belt. I thought this looked kind of leafy. Of course, there's going to be a little more tweaks to it, but for the most part, this is how it's going to look. And those are the roses that eventually I'm going to attach to the belt. And then the fur, I had some extra fur from another project I was doing, and so this, I don't even remember where I got this, to be honest, but I'm assuming it probably came from Joann's too. And then here's some glitter. This is some of what I'm going to be using to stamp around this. So I'm going to be explaining that later again when I come to that process. And for the boots, I'm planning on using the same roses, and they're going to be going along the side of this boot here. Again, I found it at a thrift store. It's kind of big on me, but I think it'll do for what I need. And it's definitely the right size when it comes to length, based on the doll. And then the fur, I'm using any extra fur that I have after I use it for the collar on the shirt. So that is how I will be doing this. And we shall see the final results later and a few little steps of the process if I can get enough in there. Another thing I thought I should explain is that I'm going to be attaching this to the actual dress, and I'm going to be shortening the dress because it was just too long. And if you can see, her dress kind of goes quite above the knees. So it's just reached right above my knees, so I figured that just needs to be taken in just a little bit. And then over here, my shirt, it's kind of, how do you explain that? It's like a wavy circle, like curved. Yeah, thank you. It's curved around, and hers is not at all. So I figured I'm going to be cutting and shortening that as well to make it more straight. Doesn't have a lot to be trimmed, but enough to do some work on. Oh yes, I forgot to mention also this. I chose a dress instead of a skirt, because the top part, you can't really see it as well in the doll, but when you see it in the cartoon, she has like a yellow piece that looks like part of an undershirt or something. So I figured if I wear a whole dress, you can see a little piece of it when I actually get the fur and the collar on and everything. So that's actually the top part of the dress. It'll look a little different when it's on me, of course, and when it's finished. All right. That's it for now. I will record my next process when we're actually doing some work. I'm having a bit of help on this because it's huge and I can't sew big things, but other than that, everything else is pretty much, you know. Oh yes. Over here. Since I'm going to be playing a character, I have to also do her makeup. So, since she's not the cartoon, here she seems to have more like purple eyeshadow, but in the real show she has white eyeshadow, complete white, so I decided to take like pearl eyeshadow and eyeliner. And, well, this is white eyeliner with pearl. I'm hoping it goes really well. I'm not into makeup, so we'll see how this all goes out. But I did the sparkles because I just think since she has kind of a shine to her on her eyes, sparkles seem to be good. And her lips are bright red, so I got lip gloss and lipstick, both red. And her hair, as you can see, it's brown, but it has red highlights in it throughout all of her hair. So I'm going to be dyeing my hair red. And I'm using Manic Panic. We'll see how that turns out. And since she is a cartoon and has very long eyelashes, I have decided to buy very long eyelashes, so I'm going to be wearing fake eyelashes that look kind of cartoony, I thought, because they go so much to the side and exaggerate. I just thought it was, yeah, I'm going to look like a cartoon character, and that's what I wanted to get out, and I think I'm going to have fun playing her. So this now concludes part 1, and I will be doing part 2 later. Bye! Alright, so I just got this in the mail. This is going to be for her headpiece here. And yes, I know I couldn't get gold roses. I tried looking all over different places on the internet. Didn't find any. But these were champagne and they go well with the shirt. So I'm pretty sure it's going to look okay. And it still kind of looks, because of champagne color, it still looks kind of golden. You can't see it in this lighting, but it's there. So it's going to be all right. And I love how big it is. It's pretty much perfect, I think. I'm wondering how it's going to look in my hair. But we'll see. So this is part 2. And I will do part 3 on the boots momentarily. So this is the third part. I have here the boot. And I have it on, what are these called? Pool sticks. because we own a pool table. And I am going to be decorating it with the fur and the glue. And of course I need scissors for that too, to make it look just like this. And then I will be right back to show how it looks, and then do the roses and show how that looks. Okay. So this is how it looks once I have done some of the fur. And I will be working on the second boot soon. Next I will be gluing on the roses on these, and then I will show how that looks.
To determine the final glittery outer skirt, we measure the bottom of the skirt to see its width. We already determined we needed it at 24 inches. So now we're going to pin the outer skirt to the bottom skirt to make sure we have enough to go around. So we do not get a seam in the middle. We will have to gather the top because the whole dress is flared from the waist to the bottom.
So when she says gather, she means something kind of like this, like it's kind of, well, it's gathered. It's like frilled, gathered.
It's taking the material and doing this to it with a thread.
Yes, for people who don't know about sewing and stuff like that, this is what gather means.
It means it fits it.
What? Yeah.
So at this point, I'm just pinning it around to make sure that I do not need an extra seam. If I don't need an extra seam, then I will do a very small hem on the back edge and then attach it to the waist. And then Alyssa will take and figure out how to make roses on the sheer. And we are short.
Oh no.
We are short by a good 6 inches.
Oh no.
Which means that I will have to go to the side and make seams. Which changes the overall format, which means then I will have to measure from the back seam to the side seam, and from the side seams across to the other side seam, and then cut the material. Done.
Update.
I measured it with the original hemline. We are taking this hem up approximately 4 inches. By taking it 4 inches, it lessened the curve, and the material now looks like it will fit across the bottom.
Yay!
Without any seams. Okay.
Hello. So here are my finished boots. Yes, they are completely done now. The roses stick out quite a bit. As I said, on this boot there's only one red rose, but I don't know. Yeah, you can see that. There's roses going down the boot on this. So that's why I have the roses like that. Why are they red? Because like I showed in the cartoon, they are clearly red. So I don't know why they didn't do that with Mattel's stuff, but they didn't. They should have painted it red, but they didn't. Doesn't matter because it's still okay. You know, they had one red rose on there on both sides, so it's all good. Anyway, so this is what I ended up coming up with Now, mine isn't a high heel, but I didn't want to be walking around everywhere in heels. Plus, this looked similar enough to me, so I figured it's nice. So the boots are finished. And that's it for this piece. Bye. Welcome to my mess. So, I wanted to show the process of how I did some of the rose print on the dress that I was working on. There was a big process for this. I was having so much trouble. So I started off with hoping that a stamp print would work. So I ended up using fabric glitter, gold fabric glitter. And I decided to put glitter all over paper and use a rose as a stamp. So I would like dip it into the glitter and then put it on the material. But it was not working because, unfortunately, when I put it on the real material, which is this material right here, it wasn't showing up. So, or if it showed up in blobs and didn't look much like a rose, more than just a blobby, weird oval. So, yeah, it didn't work. So I scratched that idea almost instantly. My second idea was to take stencils, to take a rose stencil and apply it to iron, what's it called? Iron paper, which basically irons onto an outfit or material of some sort that you have, and then you get to, what's it called? Create different shapes. Basically, you take the paper, you make whatever shapes you want out of it, and then you iron it onto pieces of clothing, and then it gives you a nice little design. So this one actually would have been sparkly golden. I think it would have looked really, really nice. But the stencil idea didn't work. So, and here's the reason why. I know these look gorgeous and beautiful, which I actually took from this stencil right here. So I'll explain what happened with that. I didn't have a stencil because I went to stores and looked. I looked at Joann's. We went to, where did we? I know we went to thrift stores, Joann's, and I think I went to Target before. I looked, I don't know how many times I looked at this. I could not find any rose stencil. Next time I would like to have a little bit of help on that. So I ended up having to actually create my own stencil. Yes, I actually did end up drawing this. Now the rose I traced from a picture I found online and was able to do that, the actual rosebud part. But the stem itself I had to pretty much create on my own. These parts were actually traced by my sister. I did the other one because there was 2 sheets, so I could have like 10 roses all over the dress. But so if they're like a little crooked, that's not me, trust me. I'm not, I actually don't do things like that. That seems more like me right there. But even that is not my hand. Anyway, my sister tried to help, which is really sweet of her. Anyway, so I created the stencil partially by tracing from a design on the computer and partially from my own little tweaking up. And so I ended up coming up with this. But what happened, and I'll explain that weird blob thing too. I ended up making the stencil and being able to trace it onto here, and it was looking pretty cool. I really liked it. And then I started cutting it out and realized how small the pieces were. I put them in baggies so I wouldn't get confused on which one went to what. And they were looking completely awesome. I really thought it was going to work. All I had to do was iron it on. But they were so small that the pieces were moving around. I couldn't get them to stay still. It was a little too hard of a focus. It just wasn't going to work to do it all. I mean, for time, yeah, I think it would have looked gorgeous, but it just was not going to work. It was not working at all. So, unfortunately, that idea was scratched off. I even tried doing it with tweezers to see if that would help, and it was just got lost. rather too much hassle. So I went on to finally the third idea, where I decided to use the stencil and just put the fabric glue glitter that I originally had for the stamp idea all over the stencil. And lo and behold, it actually worked. It looks very beautiful. But then I accidentally ruined the stencil by getting it caught onto, while it still was having glitter, I got it caught onto a paper towel. So it means I would have had to remake it. And to be honest, that was really difficult to make. It took me about an hour just to create that stencil, trying to cut it out, the drawing actually was the easy part. It was seriously the cutting out of it, because I had to get so detailed. So doing it again was not something I would have looked forward to, something I wouldn't have done again, and also the stencil itself actually didn't come out, even though it's beautiful. If you look from it far away, try to ignore the other one, it's really hard to see. It wasn't, it's not a very noticeable rose. It is here because it's so close on the camera, but if you look from far away, it really wasn't that noticeable. So, the print would have been kind of for nothing. And then I tried drawing it just freehand, and it turned out rather nice. Now, yeah, granted, it's nothing like my stencil artwork, because, stencil, especially if it's drawn by yourself and you're an artist, it will turn out much better when you're drawing it with pencil. But it's still very beautiful, and I thought, hey, that might work. And I asked some opinions and got good answers, and they all said, yeah, that's good. Some preferred this one, some preferred that one. There was debate going on. My personal opinion, I kind of preferred the stencil, but I just wish it was darker, and it was too hard to make it dark, and my stencil got ruined. It was just too much of a hassle, and option number 2 didn't seem bad, so I decided to go with that, and I am not regretting it at all. It is gorgeous the way it is turning out. So here is some of the patterns I decided to do. All of this is done freehand. There's no tracing. There's no nothing. I simply did it from my own imagination since I was doing a rose print. So here's one rose. Here's like a leafy vine pattern going down. Here's another rose. It's a different type of rose. I don't know if you can tell. This one's kind of all just suggestion of a rose. None of it's really connected. Well, some of it is, but most of it isn't connected. Most of it is like dots or blobs that are filled in together and eventually make it look like a rose, whereas this one over here actually is all connected. So I did the styles differently because I thought different roses is cool. So this one's actually kind of like a non-stop gluey line that keeps going. And this one is like blob here, blob there, blob everywhere until you finally get a rose shape. So I did do them differently, but they're both big and everything. And then up here, I did another rose, and I did the same style as I did with the dot one and blobs. Decided to make some of it connect, some of it not, but it still gives the great impression of a rose. And this one I decided to do a stem and some leaves. Up here, I made just a regular leaf. That's it. I didn't think I needed to do anything too much and too fancy because I already had plenty of roses, and I'm going to be doing more on the back side. Over here, I made another rose, and it's the same style as that one. So, and it also has a stem and leaf, but I decided to do it the opposite direction since I already had that one going towards the left, so I did this one to the right. Well, towards the right, sorry. And I think it looks pretty cool. So I actually don't regret my decision. I think it actually turned out better than the stencil because I was able to do different types of roses and leaves and artwork. So I'm really liking that. If you can tell, it's already starting to glitter up. So the problem is that it looks like, well, it's kind of blobby. Well, that's because it is. The glue hasn't dried yet. Once it does, it's supposed to kind of look like, well, this one's almost dry. This one, where it's all glittery. And none of them are all dry yet, but let's see if I can get a good angle right there. See, that's just pure glitter, whereas that looks a little creamer and gluier. Well, that's because the glue hasn't dried yet, but when it dries, it should be looking like that. So I think it's going to be a very cute pattern, and when it is completely dry, I'd love to show it. I will be doing more designs on the other side of the dress, so I'll just show those. I don't think I need to explain it because now you see how I do it, but I will show it on the other side. And but I'll probably show it after the finished product is complete and show how they turn out. So that's the dress so far. Now moving on to what I did to the shirt part of this outfit. So I can actually sew, but I sew smaller clothes. So I've never really worked with bigger materials. I'm into like doll clothes and stuff like that, so that's what I sew. So I've never done anything like this before, and I know it takes a lot more work and a lot more stitches and a lot more time that I really don't know much about. So I wanted a sewing machine so I could make my own clothes, but I don't have one yet. It's on the way. Actually, my mom just ordered one. So I had help from my grandma to sew some stuff, but other than that, the style and everything, the materials were pretty much my own choosing of how to do it all. So I already showed a before picture or image, whatever, of the shirt before everything was done, but the shirt is complete. It was taken in because it was a little too big on me, so I didn't want to look fat or anything, I guess you could say, so I took it in a lot. Well, a little, whatever. And then the fur that we showed before, and it's now sewn on to the collar, so I think that's pretty cool. And I didn't really want a belt. I thought it'd be better just to attach the belt part to the dress, and it's still going to give it the same look. So this is kind of what was done. I think it turned out rather nicely, and it's just green trim on the bottom of the shirt, sorry. And the roses are actually detachable. Right now they just have pins on them and Velcro, and they stay on that way. But so the pins are so it won't fall down. The Velcro is actually what attaches them. So it looks a lot like the Rosabella belt. And once I am completed with the whole outfit, I'm going to compare the doll to myself because I'll probably be in the outfit. That is pretty much what I've worked on because the other stuff I already showed. So I'll do my next one on the almost final product. Oh no, I'll be doing the earrings. Then it'll be the final product. So that's it for now.